Assalamu alaikum, hello, namaste, everyone. Welcome back to the most awaited podcast of Illegitimate Queen, Part 2. Streets were lit up like a rainbow carnival, all sparkling with sheer darkness inside every human's heart. I stood frozen in the glass casket, facing the crowd, where lusty eyes scrawled my half-naked body. The hunger in their eyes is the fear I carry for eternity. This drill went along for many days, where half-dizzy me was put to display and later raped by the highest bidder. My memories of this is covered by drugs that they injected. But one day there stood an old man in the corner of road wearing a proper English suit with a hat and cane. After few hours they pulled me out and drugged me. Then I woke up 3 days later in a countryside luxurious mansion where 10 teenage boys surrounded me. While I was lying on the bed, my instincts were strongly giving me signs of horrific danger. But things were calm. All boys looked of similar age group, around 16 to 20. I was unsure of what was about to come to my footsteps. Everything looked very subtle in the mansion. I was left all alone without any chains and drugs. After months, I was in my senses. I was free to breathe. I felt fresh air passing through my chest. I could feel my blood flowing through my veins. I felt the urge of hunger. I was famished. This feeling that I had never felt for a very long time. I walked around the huge mansion. There were plenty of house help, dusting, cleaning, and cooking. I sat alone on the diner and was served with good hot food. While I was munching, all the house help rushed out from the mansion at exact 4 p.m. I was left all alone. As soon as I saw no soul in the house, my legs felt courage. I ran as fast as I could. All I could see is the empty land leading to deep dark woods. I ran as far as I could to find escape, but all I could do is fall. My legs weighed thousands of kilos. I could barely gain strength to stand. Before I could find a ray of hope to gain strength, the old man showed up and very vividly asked to sit in his vintage car. With no hope, I grabbed support and sat in his car. The old man did not even utter a word. He just drove towards the mansion and walked inside. I was puzzled to understand what was happening with me. I stood there for some time and went directly to the room where I was put up. Now, only me and the old man were in the whole mansion. There was awkward silence between us. He was nowhere to be found. I felt as a bird in a golden cage who was allowed to move around, eat, and was not disturbed for days. My wings were cut off, but I was healing mentally. But I did not understand the purpose of why was I brought here. This was a very strange place. It had all luxury that I had never witnessed. Mansion was in the middle of jungle where other side was a breathtaking view of beautiful waves and mountain. There was a very strange schedule of servants. All servants used to come at 6 a.m. and leave at 4 p.m. sharp. Every day, as if everyone had to catch up the same train. No one ever spoke a word to me. There was no response for anything I asked. For almost around 2 months, there was no one in the mansion except the old man. I couldn't figure out what was destined now. I was happy after many days, but somewhere I was expecting that all my happiness is temporary. One fine day, as my schedule, I was sleeping in my room. 5 to 6 white teen boys entered the room and brutally raped me and just left. I was devastated. I did not have courage to walk out of the room. My whole body was burning. Whole night for the first time, I felt immense pain. There were thousands of things running in my mind. My happiness had come to its end. First thing in the morning, I went and knocked at the door of old man. I begged him and told him what had happened, thinking that he might help me. He said nothing and left the place. I was confused from the behavior of this old man. There was again no one in the mansion, but everything was changed now. I had to keep every step in fear. At the time of lunch, there was more food cooked, but no one turned up at the table. One thing was clear to me, that things were about to change. The way I used to run around in the mansion singing, reading and dancing had come to an end. I was lying on the bed for the rest of evening. I couldn't sleep. As the sun went down, my heart picked up rapidly. My eyes were at the door and ears at alert. Now the sound of waves hitting the walls of mansion suddenly seemed disturbing. I was hoping for the dawn every minute, but time was stuck. After few hours, there were footsteps approaching my room. I crushed the pillow in fear and hid myself in the wardrobe and peeped through the gap. Now there were all 10 boys in my room searching for me. A boy with hazel green eyes approached the door and said, "She's here," and that's what they said for rest of the night. I was a puppet in the hands of these young boys. They whispered nothing. They kept on raping me. All I could hear is my own voice screaming for help. Once everyone was done, they left me all alone in pain and walked out of the room. As soon as the sun came out, I walked out of the room and there was no one again in the mansion except the old man. As I approached the old man, he shut the door on my face. Every day at 6, servants used to arrive. They cleaned, they cooked breakfast, lunch and dinner, left at 4 p.m. sharp. And somewhere in the middle of night, these boys used to come rape me as they wished and just vanish. I was exhausted from all of this, so it was time to quit. I had given up hope. I walked out of the mansion at dawn before servants could arrive and jumped in the ocean without second thoughts. As I was drowning, I felt peace within me. I guess I was the first person to find happiness in death. My soul felt relaxed as I inhaled water to death. I hardly remember how death had betrayed me. I was in a room where a boy was standing and waiting for me to wake up. I just woke up where he asked me how was I feeling. I replied saying, "How do I feel? I feel God has given up on me." He asked me to take care and was about to leave. I held his hand tight and asked him to kill me right away before anyone could come. He sat down and tapped my back and said everything will be better soon and left. It was the only conversation I had after all these days. Once the servants had left, the boy came into the room It was unusual to see him as it was out of the schedule. He sat down with me and had conversation. I don't know, for the first time I felt safe with him and told him what was going on with me. I begged him to kill me, but instead he said, "Get ready at 4 a.m. I'll take you out of this place," and kissed me on my forehead and left. I was shocked. The boy was one among them who has been constantly raping me. That same night again, all the boys came into my room and did what they usually do. This boy also was in the act, and he left with everyone as usual. I was not expecting him to come at 4 a.m. As I had given up on trust, at exact 4 a.m. he walked into my room slowly and whispered in my ears to walk with him as slow as possible. He took me to a secret basement of the mansion where these boys used to pack drugs in large quantity and sent it all over the world. It was a huge basement with containers and lots of fishes. Now I got to know where these boys used to disappear. The basement opened to a different part of mansion where he asked me to sit in a small cruise boat, and we left. I was not feeling happy. I thought this was another trick, or they might be taking to another location. On the journey, he said his name was Robert Wales, and I was living in Russia all these days. He said they worked for the old man who is the king of drug mafia, and he takes care of them by all means. In order to not to send these boys out of the mansion again and again, the old man had purchased me from red light area for a hefty amount so that all the young boys can enjoy. I still don't believe a word this boy was telling. I was constantly thinking what was going to happen. He asked me to do as he tells me to do. In middle of the ocean, we were transferred to another small cruise. He told me that we were going to port from where I will be transferred to India in a container. He asked me to cooperate with him and silently follow him towards the ship where the container was already placed. As we were approaching the port, my suspiciousness increased. I was having second thoughts of trusting him. I could see large ships standing, but somewhere I had hope of flying. As we were nearing to shore, Robert's eyes fell on the Russian cops conducting checking around the port. Things at port were disturbing. As he saw the cops, Robert turned around the cruise and asked me to sit tight. This was only chance to me to escape. I asked him to stop the boat, but he slapped me and said to remain silent. I was so fucking frustrated that I picked up the fire extinguisher and smashed his head in rage. He fell down in pain. I could not stop, but I smashed his face with all my strength I had and kept on smashing his head until he died. Fortunately, the Russian cops rescued me from this shithole, and they asked me where I was from and what was my father's name. I had nothing to say to them. I just said Mumbai, India, and kept quiet. Because of me, they could catch hold of the drug mafia, and I helped them completely to bring down the old man. And then I was safely sent home after all the procedures with good prize amount. As soon as I came back to India, I went to my mother's brothel house, and with all the strength I started helping young girls and guiding them towards their career. Since then, our queen has helped thousands of underprivileged girls and victims to establish financial and mental balance. Now, our queen is known for bringing up revolution in building a toy factory where 15,000 women are working for brighter future. After all this, she has realized surname was not at all important. A queen is always born from within. Follow Firdos Raza on all social media platforms. Thank you. Have a great day.